many Americans are really trying to make a living on minimum wage? That is our question for week 1. Because the narrative that we're constantly hearing by those who support an increase in minimum wage is that people cannot make a living on the current minimum wage. People need a livable wage. That's the narrative. So I think it's a really great exercise to find out just who exactly are we talking about? Who is really trying to make a living on minimum wage? And when we do very simple math, we see that those who are 25 years old and older is a little more than 1 million people who are truly trying to make a living on minimum wage. Now, how do we get to that number? Very simple. In America, roughly 77 million people have identified themselves as earning an hourly wage. Of the 77 million, 3 million say they are earning minimum wage. So of the total pie of 77 million Americans who have identified themselves as earning an hourly wage, only 3 million say they are earning minimum wage. But wait, it doesn't stop there. Take the 3 million and now slice it in half. And what we see is that half of the 3 million are between the ages of 16 and 24 years old. So we're basically talking about high schoolers and college students who are trying to supplement mommy and daddy's monthly allowance. The other half are between the ages of 25 and older. So we can reasonably assume that those who are truly trying to make a living on minimum wage is a little more than 1 million people. Now, I know inevitably someone will say, well, those million people matter. And I agree. They do matter. They're very important. But this is where logic comes into play as well. But also the 18 million Americans who are currently unemployed in our country today are also important. And their minimum wage is zero as well. Now, here's the study of economics. We all have limited resources, limited time, limited opportunities, limited energy, limited money. And as a good steward, we have to kind of sit back and say, what is the best use of my limited resources? Now, if you and I have 1 or 2 problems to contend with, our legislators have 1,001 issues to contend with. We have ISIS at our back door. We have over 43 million Americans today who are on the food stamp program. We have $18 trillion in national debt, and that number is growing. The real unemployment rate is hovering around 11%. 22 veterans commit suicide every day. All of these issues are American issues, and all of these issues are very important issues. But we must say to ourselves, with such limited time on our hands, what is the best use of our very limited resources? And you have to say, why? You have to ask yourself the question, why have our legislators put their full weight behind roughly 1.5 million people when we have very large issues as well that must be contended with? Is it because they care so much?